I raro tuia te here tangata. E te kai kaunihira, tēnei te reo mihi, tēnei te reo pōtiri ki a koe o tira ko tō whānau i tēnei rā whakahirahira, tēnei rā whakahara. Nau mai, whakatau mai rā, kei wainganui mātou, kei wainganui tātou ko te kaunihira ārohe o Ōtorohanga. Kei kai kaunihira mo te hapori, o tira mō ngā tau e toru kei te haere. Tēnei te reo mihi, tēnā koe, tēnā koe. And just to give a brief translation, acknowledging the spaces above, below, and all around us, and all of us who are gathered here today, on behalf of Ōtorohanga District Council, want to warmly welcome our new councillor and welcome you, our whānau, in establishing this space for today. So, tēnā koutou katoa.
So, Michael, if you could read the words, and then your life changes forever.
Good. Hey, I'm Michael Woodward, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and accordingly to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Ōtorohanga District the powers, authorities and duties vested in me or imposed upon me as a councillor of the Ōtorohanga District Council. By virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 and any other act.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Cheers, eh? We'll just have a 5-minute break. We'll just so Michael can get some photos of his family if he wants to say goodbye. Well, they may want to stay around for the whole meeting. They're most welcome to. I'm sure the kids want to get back to school. So we'll just adjourn just for about 5 minutes, okay? So public forum. We're ready. Back into it now. There's no one in the public forum anymore, so do I have to just say the meeting started again at 10:18, which I'll do anyway, so I just did that. Late items, there's no late items. Does anyone have declare a conflict of interest in today's agenda? Yep. That's me, I'm taking. So the first confirmation of the minutes from the last meeting, do I have a mover? Move Jamie, councillor Tamaki. The seconder? Seconder, councillor Carr. Is there any matters arising from those minutes? No? All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you, boss. So we're going now, and that one. Oh, my verbal report. Oh, sorry, we're still receiving minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Oh, just receiving the minutes from the Ōtorohanga Community Board, dated the 4th of November, and the Kawhi Community Board held on the 6th of November. Do I have a mover for them? Yeah. Do we move them separately or just together? Together. Councillor Jeffries, can you move them together? Can you move it if you mean at the meeting?
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't there, but I
Oh,
wasn't.
they're unconfirmed, so we're just receiving them. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because you can't, just clarify something for me, if you went at the meeting, you can't confirm those minutes. Can you?
Yeah, but we're not confirming them. Just
Yeah, we're
Yep.
not confirming
They're
the boards
undone.
themselves through you, me down.
Yeah,
Sorry. Yeah, we're only receiving them as council, not.
Oh, can I, through you, Chair, can I ask a question then? The minutes from the last meeting for the council, can Shane second them even though he wasn't there? Because none of us other than Jamie, Rodney and Katrina were at the last council meeting.
The council last council.
Yes.
No, we're all.
I'm assuming you had them in the meeting earlier this month.
Oh,
Really brief
okay,
one we had.
that one, sorry, I apologise. Yep,
Yeah.
okay.
No, everyone was present, apart from Michael was in
Yeah.
China. Yeah. Yeah, these are like, yeah, because this is an official meeting we're talking about, not, we've had workshops and all that, but no, we're not talking about workshops, we're just talking about the official, what's on our agenda. Yeah. Seconder for the, can I second them or not? Yep. Councillor Christensen, Deputy Mayor Christensen. Oh, well, listen, she's seconded. All in favour? Against? We're a bit rusty, but we'll get there. The All Blacks don't play well in the first game. Now my verbal report. Sorry. When was the last meeting? Sorry. This is no good. Do it this way. Things you need to learn, eh? Since the last meeting, since the last, just verbally we can start off with. I've actually had a meeting with Mayor John Robertson from Waitomo, just a general catch up, just discussing, whether we could do shared services or things like that. I've had a meeting with Sergeant Hayden Nunn, just the local police sergeant, just on what we could do, how we could help each other in the community. These are all sort of verbal meetings. We went to Wellington to LGNZ regional provincial meeting, which is another I think Tanya sent us all slides of that, so if you're not there. I went to Mayor's Task Force the next day in Wellington, Mayor's Task Force for Jobs. There was about 20 odd mayors there, which apparently is quite a good turnout, and it's just how we're going to go going forward. They need a new chairperson because obviously the Alex, that was the last chair, she didn't win her election, so there's a new mayor there. So we're just at the moment waiting for nominations for that, and that's kind of looking all right. We heard from the MSD, the guy that gives the money to Mayor's Task Force for Jobs, and he's, it's more focused on getting the MSD people into it rather than that. We had an online meeting with Robin McCulloch, who's going to be briefing us on our CE review schedule. That's been done. Went to the Hamilton Airport for the AGM. Good news there, they've given the shareholders a slight dividend of about 450,000, but we've only got 3% of that. So don't go yay, and we haven't got lots more money, but at least it's better than I understand other years people have been putting in money. Been to the fade up thing at the college. Got asked to speak there, open that. It's really choice what the rangatahi are doing, and shows the talent in our town. That was really good. The annual farmers night would have probably gone there if I was in here, but went to that and spoke that. That was a really great night. What else we done? Last Friday, quite a few of us went to Zone 2 meeting, LGNZ, learning a few things. Apparently there's quite a few things coming our way from government, central government, so that'll be interesting to see what happens. Went to the St. John's on Saturday to the annual youth prize giving, which was it was a joint one from Waipa, Cambridge, Te Awamutu, Cambridge and Ōtorohanga. But that's really cool to see so many cool young people doing stuff. So that's about me. I will report, and I'll do it a lot better next time because it's a bit muddled. But anyway, I'd like to ask that someone move Deputy Mayor Christensen. Seconded Councillor James Tamaki. Oh, they're all forum yesterday. Okay, boss. Yesterday we went to the Waikato Mural Forum. All the mayors from the Waikato got together, and pretty much it's a little bit of networking, but a lot of getting to know each other because there's quite a lot of new mayors in the district, and we make some strategies going forward as to how we can make things better for everyone in everyone's space. Everyone's got very similar situations, I think. But yeah, that was quite good. So, okay, so we've got mover and a seconder. Is any matters arising from my verbal report, which is pretty poor, really, but I'll do better. Hey? Okay. You'll turn your mic on. So we'll in favour of that. Did I do? You got to vote that one too? Yep. Yeah. All in favour? Against? Carried. Now we move on to the meaty stuff, decision reports. I'll hand over to somebody else now, don't I? Yeah, so I'm going to hand over to the report writer to Ms. Tanya Winter for the first report on our agenda. Take it away.
Oh, yeah. Through you, Mayor Dow, thank you very much. Firstly, while this has my name on it and several reports on this agenda I want to acknowledge Kaya, who's put an enormous amount of work into preparing these reports for me. This will be the only time in the training you see my name on reports. The rest of the time, I'm usually an approver of the reports that go on the agenda. My GMs write them, or their staff. So this is the only time you'll get to see my name on these. The first one is around committee appointments and delegations. And really this is Mayor Dow exercising his rights under the Local Government Act to establish committees and appoint chairs and deputy chairs. So the staff recommendations really reflect what's in the memo in Appendix 1 of this report, which is Mayor Dow's recommendations. So really we've taken those and turned them into this report, and I understand that you are all familiar with the appointments. So I'll hand it back to you.
Can I just ask you a question? Oh, do we have any questions, or do we just want to straight on to move and seconder? No questions? We have a mover, please. Yeah, move.
Yeah,
I'll move that. Seconder, Councillor Jeffries. So I'm assuming it's now opened up. It's opened up to the floor again now that the motion's put on the table. Do you want to say something, Kat, or you just got your light on?
Oh, sorry.
No. Okay. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Now, item 6 on the agenda. Tanya Winter.
Through you, Mayor Dow. So this is a report that it gives the appointments to external organisations. Some organisations, either by legislation or the Constitution, require us to appoint elected members to them. So we have a list under the recommendations in A, and in B and C that outlines the different mechanisms that we're appointing, and also who those appointees are.
Any questions about this report? Do I have a mover?
Move.
Move, Councillor Kitty. Do we have a seconder? Second, Councillor Carr. So is there any discussions now? It's on the table? Yes.
I just, so we're saying on the North King Country Development Trust, who does the communications for that happen? Do we need to contact them, or is there feedback come from them to us?
Through you. Are you asking who will let them know who the appointment is? Is that what you were asking, Councillor?
Yeah, I suppose, how does that communication flow work between?
Yeah. So Kaya will advise post this meeting, a letter will go, or communication will go to these organisations confirming who their council appointee is. Yeah, good question.
Right. So all those in, sorry.
That's right. Sorry, yes, Your Worship. Just one quick question. In the previous triennium, we had a councillor on it was like a quasi committee for the housing committee. Is that part of this, or like I think it was myself and I think Katrina was the alternate on that committee. I just wondered whether it was intended to carry on with that. That was all. Yep.
To my knowledge, there isn't a committee that came in front of me.
No, there wasn't a formal committee as such, but I think it was agreed by the previous council that there would be a council representative onto that committee. Yeah.
Well, it hasn't come across my desk, but the thing is, when I asked you about the portfolios, I've kind of got your name beside all the things.
Yep.
You know, like for instance, I know you're going to go into the Maru Housing Trust. So basically there's something else I can discuss later, but this is just kind of the formal committees that came across my desk. So.
Through you. So the three categories we've got is two of them are legislation. The civil defence one is just separately, and then the C is organisations that have requested a council representation representative. So the housing one was done mid-triennium last time, wasn't it? So we've kind of missed that off really, and I'm not sure if that group A still exists and B has requested a councillor be appointed.
Yeah,
Do you know, Nadia?
through you, Mayor Dow, I wonder if if the best option here is for me just to do a bit of a briefing paper on the background so that everyone is aware of what the community-led housing group is, and then we can maybe come back to who might want to best represent council on that. And you're right, it is an informal group, but they have requested council be at the table.
Can I add on to that through your wish? Mayor Rodney? Mayor Dale? I think the elevators reached out to someone to drive it again because Michelle's obviously left. So I would say in February, we'll have more guidance on that. I was going to actually talk to it a little bit in my councillor update. So I reckon February, March, we revisit it, Kit. And then, yeah, of course, you've been along for the, you know, the ride. So jump back on, I would say.
Thank you. Good. So all in favour of the? Against? Carried. Item 7 is a real meaty one. Tanya, you speak on this.
Yes, Mayor through you. So this is adopting your meeting schedule for the training. There isn't a legislative requirement to adopt a meeting schedule for the whole training, but it's good practice too. It gives our community, our media, anyone else who's interested, time to plan and put things in diaries, etc. So yeah, our recommendations are there in terms of the dates. I'm happy to take any questions.
Yeah, have we got any questions on that? We have a mover. Moved. Councillor Butcher. Seconder, Councillor Barker. Yep. No, all in favour? Against? Carried. Yep. Right. Yep. The workshop schedule now, adoption of that.
So item 8 on page 46 is the adoption of workshop schedule. Jeez. I don't know if we've brought this sort of report to council before to get adoption of a workshop schedule, but I suppose over the last training we did seem to get into a pattern of every kind of intervening fortnight between the council meetings having a day on a Tuesday of workshops. We will be taking you through an annual plan, your first annual plan, which is year 3 of the current long-term plan, and then we will start the preparation for the next long-term plan. So workshops will be required, as Mayor Dow has alluded to, and those who have attended the sector meetings over the last wee while. We apparently have a tsunami of legislation coming at us that will see us running around with like our pants are on fire. So I'm imagining we'll need several workshops for that.
Any questions?
No, I'll move that the schedule be adopted.
Yep. Do we have a second? So I move Councillor Jeffries, second Councillor Carr. All in favour? No discussion? Right. Against? Carried. Item 9 is adoption of the standing orders. And we'll hand up to Tanya again.
Yeah. Through you.
Tanya showed today.
Yeah, no, Mayor Dow. Yeah, sorry, getting sick of my voice. So this is asking you to adopt the standing orders for, until the national model is issued and we adopt the national model. So that is being worked on at the moment. We need standing orders. We're required to have standing orders in place for the orderly conduct of our meetings. And we all had a session, a workshop a couple of weeks ago where we actually got to use the standing orders outside of a formal council meeting. So you'll be familiar with what they are and how they're used. So yeah, happy to take questions.
Have you got any questions?
Yeah, just out of interest, who's actually doing the review of the standing orders? Is that local government New Zealand or central government?
It's Standards New Zealand.
Oh, Standards New Zealand.
Yeah, so Standards
Yep.
New Zealand are reviewing the standing orders and the Local Government Commission are reviewing the Code of Conduct. So both of those revised documents, so it's part of the Government Systems Improvements Bill. Those two pieces of, those two documents are being reviewed by two separate organisations.
Okay, and will local government generally have an opportunity to have input onto that, do you think, or?
Have we had input into standing orders, into the model standing orders? No. Yeah. Yeah, I think our two national bodies are preparing submissions, and when I say our national bodies are preparing, I know particularly for Tai Tuara, which is the organisation that represents staff in councils, they usually call for a working party to, you know,
Right.
who are familiar with that kind of area to contribute. I'm not so sure about LGNZ and whether they just have their policy staff working on it,
Yep.
but yeah, often Tai Tuara have council staff that are asked for their input as well. I don't know whether we will get to make a submission or not. I'm not really sure how their process is going to work.
Sorry, just one further question then. So will that, once it's been adopted, will that become mandatory for all local government? It will. So,
Well-
so it can't be, I was going to say manipulated. That's not quite the right word.
The word you're looking for.
It can't be done on a case-by-case basis for each.
There may be options within the standing orders for councils to choose, like, you know, how there's options around voting, there's options around whether the mayor or chair has a casting vote. So I'm imagining that there may be some optionality within the standing orders,
Yep.
but I think largely we'll be asked to, or instructed to adopt the standing orders as they are.
Okay, no, thank you very much.
We've got a emergency now, do we?
No.
Oh, sorry. Can I have a mover for that motion? See,
Yeah, I'll move it. Thank you.
moved councillor Jeffrey, seconded councillor Carr. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. I'd like to hand over now to Graham Bunn and take us through the next item 10 on our elected members' remuneration. I can never say that word very well. How much you get paid?
Page 1.
Page 136. Take it away, Graham.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Dow. So this follows on from the workshop that we held with council on the 11th of November. So the purpose of this report is just to formalise that. We're required to allocate out the governance pool for additional duties to elected members. So first of all, I'd just like to draw your attention to the two appendices, which are the pre-election determination and the post-election determination. They're on page 141. Appendix 1 is what we were paying to the previous council up to the election, and then Appendix 2 is the post-election determination from the Remuneration Authority, which basically it sets the salary for the mayor. It also sets salaries for community board chairs and community board members, and it gives us a governance pool, which in this case is $296,308. It also gives us a minimum amount that we have to pay elected members, which is $26,580. So when we multiply that minimum amount by the number of councillors that we have, What's left over, which is a little over 50,000, is what we can allocate for additional duties. So you'll see in the recommendation how we've proposed to allocate that. That's in line with the discussion that was held at the workshop on the 11th of November. The process from here after this is adopted is that's then submitted to the Remuneration Authority, and then we have to include with that I guess a proposal and documentation around what each additional duties incurs, brief description, and then after that it's then gazetted and then set into legislation. And so at that stage, when it's gazetted, we would then back pay those councillors back to the date that you were appointed to those committees, which is today. So happy to take any questions.
Any questions? No questions? Do we have a mover? Moved Councillor Woodward, seconders Councillor Parker. All in favour? Against? Carried. Moving on to item 11. Oh, Brian Bunt. Anyway,
Yeah, thanks.
on page 142.
Yeah. So as part of the process around elected members' remuneration, we also had to adopt an elected members' expenses policy, which is attached to this report. I'll just summarise just the significant differences from the existing policy. So the primary one is around equipment. So with elected members, we can either provide them with equipment to carry out their role as councillors, or we can pay them a allowance in lieu of. The previous triennium, elected councillors were provided with a small Surface Go, and no computers were provided to community board members. This year we've provided Surface Pros to everybody, elected members and community board members, and also those Surface Pros have their own data cards, so they're internet capable. So in previous years where we haven't supplied equipment, we've paid an allowance for internet and an equipment allowance. So with the current triennium, we'll reimburse all councillors and that have for a mobile phone allowance, which is $200, and also a printer allowance at home, which is $50. So that's changed from the previous policy. And the only other major change is around the addition of a home security allowance, which has been added into the determination. Intentionally, we've left amounts out of the policy, particularly we have things like mileage rates for reimbursements are set to the IRD, so which constantly change, and so every time they change, we would have to change the policy. So we just refer to the current IRD rates, and also included in the policy is just around the process for getting authorisation for expense claims, mileage, etc. So yeah, happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions? Councillor Jeffries.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, Graham, 5.2, the new provision for home security, is that for new security systems going in or for existing? Does it cover existing ones?
That's a good question. Actually, I probably need to get clarification on that. It certainly covers new systems, but whether the $1,000 per annum for monitoring call-outs would be on existing systems, I'd imagine. I can't see why it wouldn't, but I can get confirmation of that.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. And just the other one, you're talking about the cell phones and the printers. Is that for everybody, or just do you have to actually tell somebody that you need that or you qualify for those?
That's for everybody. The only cell phone that we provide is to the mayor.
Cool. Okay, no, thank you. Special.
So do we have a mover? Nobody, mate?
Yes, I'll move it, Your Worship.
Okay, move councillor Jeffrey, seconded councillor Woodward. All in favour? Against? Carried. Very good. So that's the meaty part of the meeting over, the meaty. And the decisions we had, decision reports are all done now. So the other reports on our agenda is item 12, which is basically the finance report. These are just information reports. So pretty much the money's been spent. And bring them all, so we just, these come to council just really for purely information. And but it's good information, isn't it? Take it away, hopefully, yes.
Thank you, Your Worship. So yes, this is the finance report to the end of October. I guess for those that are new members, just to give you a bit of a explanation about why we bring you a finance report. So we bring them every month, pretty much, except we're like Christmas. We don't obviously bring you one for December usually because the meeting's in February. So, but we bring you one every other month. We bring it to you because obviously as governors, you're the ones that set the budget as part of the annual plan or long-term plan process. And so this is our ability as staff to report back to you as to how we're going against what you've told us you want us to spend. And so normally I'd probably take this as read and then just take questions, but obviously being the first time that a lot of you are seeing it, I'll go through it in a bit more detail this time and maybe next time. Also in February, I believe it is, Graham and I have a workshop where we're going to go through finance stuff. So some of these concepts that I may discuss today, we'll go into in more detail then, but I'm happy to take any questions now and try and do a brief explanation of those things and not take up too much time. So I guess moving on to part 4 and 4.1, the table there is our statement of comprehensive revenue and expenses, also known by some people as an income statement, profit and loss statement, has many different names. This is the name that's in the legislation, so that's the name we use in our reporting. So what this is showing is our income, basically an income and our expenses, operating expenses, not our capital. That's recorded separately. So you can see there in terms of our revenue. So what we've got here is what our actual is to the end of October, what the budget is year to date, what our variance is between those, and then what our full year budget is. So our income, you can see the bulk of it there is in the rates income. Contributions, that's development contributions and financial contributions under the RMA. Water by volume, that's obviously, as the name says, that's people that we charge water through meters. Subsidies and grants, the bulk of this is NZTA subsidies, so it's that roading subsidy, but there is some other stuff that comes through here, some of the better off funding that we've had in the past, little subsidies and grants for the Sport New Zealand and creative community sort of things, those come through that as well. Other income is kind of the catch-all for anything else, so any other money we make. So this is our regulatory fees, this is rental of land buildings, trying to think what else, petrol taxes in there, a few other, anything else that you can think of that we might make money off, library fees, I guess. I'll keep popping in my head, so I'll stop there. So that gives us our total revenue. So as you can see there, to the end of October, we've made 10.6 million of revenue against a budget of 11.2. The big differences in that being in the subsidies and grants being under budget and the other income being under budget. And obviously in 4.2, I've explained the reasoning for that. I won't repeat what I've written there. In terms of the expenses, so we break this down into 4 groups as well. So employee benefit expenses, that's the salaries for staff and also the money that we pay to elected members. It also includes superannuation and ACC levies. Depreciation and amortization is, as the name says, the depreciation and or amortization of our assets. So I guess to explain for those that aren't financially minded, the difference between depreciation and amortization. Depreciation is the reducing in the value of a fixed asset or a physical asset like a table or a building or whatever. Amortization is the same concept, but it's for intangible things. So it's software, it's potentially our resource consents. It's something you can't actually physically hold, but you still want to reduce the value because you do have to put money aside to renew it at some point. Other expenses are the catch-all for everything else. And then finance costs is basically our interest costs plus our bank fees and stuff like that. In terms of the other expenses, the next table down on the next page does then break that down into a bit more detail. So I can go through that as we get to that. So as you can see there, our total expenditure to the end of October is 9.8 million against a year-to-date budget of 10.4, meaning we're about $656,000 under budget in terms of spending. And that's kind of spread all over the place. Like other expenses seems to be the bulk of it. And again, I've explained that in 4.3. So that gives us an operating surplus at the end of October of 843,000 against a budget of 716,000. Moving on to the next page, as I said, the other expenses table there. So I'll go through what these are. So activity operations, this is the cost of running a lot of our things. So this is the cost of a lot of this is electricity. In terms of water and wastewater, it'd be the chemicals that are involved in treating those. Yeah, rental, if we're renting anything, those sort of things. Asset maintenance, as the name suggests, is the actual cost of maintaining the assets. So if we have to spend any money fixing a pump or something like that, that all sits in there. Deloitte fees, so this is where our audit fees go for both the annual report and also the long-term plan when that's audited. The reason why we have that as a separate line is we're required to actually disclose that separately in an annual report. So we just mimic what's in the annual report in this report prior to you. Grants and subsidies, this is money that we've given out. So this is money we've given to, again, particularly through the creative communities, Sport New Zealand, other grants we may have given. Insurance, pretty self-explanatory. Minimum lease payments under operating leases. So this is money where we have to make payments on leases that we have. In this case, it's basically our photocopiers. We lease our photocopiers and our tech and all the other meeting rooms, but not this room. Bought these ones outright. We did this room up. And so that's something we're required to disclose under the legislation. So that's why we put it separate. Other expenses, again, the catch-all. Regional initiatives this is the predominantly collab, the money that we spend with them, but any other regional initiatives as well that we were involved in. Road maintenance, again, hopefully pretty self-explanatory. And youth initiatives. So this is Mayor's Task Force for Jobs mostly, but other youth initiatives as well, some of the stuff that Nikki does. And yeah, that, as you can see there, will tie back to the previous table in terms of the totals. Moving on to the next page, which is 161.
Just Brendan,
yep.
just because I see Councillor Butcher's
Yep.
got her light on. I was just wondering, so we just pause, because it's a bit to get your head around what you kind of knew, and we'll ask do
them after
the burning question that Councillor Butcher's got.
No problem.
Thank you, Mayor Dow, through you, Mayor. Hi, Brendan. Just wondering, you've got it as which I would think is a credit coming back to us for Deloitte fees.
Yes.
So yeah, what is that?
Okay, so because obviously the timing of when the audit's done versus our year end, so we accrue that we get the fee for the audit for the 30 June 25 annual report. We accrue that back into last year, and then we obviously reverse it out this year. So the reason why we've got a credit is because they haven't sent us the last of the bills yet. So once they send us the last of the bills, that should end up as a zero. So yeah, we take the cost, put it back in last year, and then reverse it out. And as the bills come in after the year end when they do the work, it offsets against it and then cancels out to zero.
Okay. Also, there's no budget for that. Is it because
no year-to-date budget? Because in theory, we should have invoiced this by now.
Right.
You can see in the last column is the full year budget. So we're expecting 200.
So that's our guidance.
Yeah. Yeah. So we try and allocate, and particularly the operating expenditure and also the capex. Allocate our budget month by month as to when we think we're going to spend the money. So from a cash flow point of view, it makes it look better. We're not saying that we're going to spend equally that budget over the year, because we're not. It's all going to come the last 2 or 3 months of the year.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
I knew Kit would have a question. Councillor Jeffries, just one.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, it's really just perhaps suggest to Brendan that he might like to just explain the relationship between the Office of the Auditor General and Deloitte's and why we have Deloitte's as our auditors.
Yep, okay. Yes, so under legislation, and this is not just for local government, it's all public entities. The Office of the Auditor General is the person responsible for ensuring that audits happen of public entities. They don't do the audits themselves, they get other people to do it for them. So they have Audit New Zealand, who does the bulk of their audits, and they are technically separate, but kind of the same entity. It's weird. But because they don't have sufficient capacity within Audit New Zealand to do all that themselves, they also get other entities to do it. So they use KPMG, they use Deloitte, they use Ernst Young. Those are basically the three ones, and then there might be other ones they get. So the Auditor General, they decide who does everyone's audit. We don't get to pick. Deloitte has now been doing it since 2004, because that's the first year I came as an auditor into the audit of the council. And so we've had them for 21 years now. And so the Auditor General also has some input into what the fees that are charged. So they do checks to make sure they're being overcharged, particularly with Deloitte being obviously a commercial entity as opposed to New Zealand, which would be public entity. They do make sure that there's some harmonisation, that the commercial ones aren't making huge profits off us or anything like that. So that's how Deloitte became our auditors, because the OAG assigned them.
Yeah, so Deloitte, in the Waikato, Deloitte are also auditors for Waitomo and South Waikato as well. But every other Waikato council's audited by Audit New Zealand.
I think one might be KPMG.
Yeah.
Actually.
No.
Yeah.
Audit New Zealand was basically, when they deregulated the industry, what came out of the old was what was the old government audit office.
Cool. All right, if there's nothing else on that, we'll move on to the next page 161 and the next statement, which is our statement of financial position, more commonly known by most people as a balance sheet. So this is everything we own and everything we owe people. And so we break it down into your current and non-current assets, same with liabilities, and the equity is what would be in a regular company, the shareholders' funds, but we obviously call it retained earnings. In terms of the assets, so as you can see there, we've got 3.8 million of current assets, which are made up mostly of cash and cash receivables, cash and cash equivalents, and trade and other receivables, a little bit of inventory. Most of that inventory relates to water services, bits and bobs that they've got down at the plant, and also some street lights. So we pre-bought some street lights and poles a couple of years ago. Paul managed to get a good deal on that, and so they're sitting at TLC's yard, and they just use them as they need to replace their existing street lights. The non-current assets, so the investments, that's shares, I guess, that we hold in things. The bulk of that 9 million is about $7 million worth of the airport. The other investments we have is the local government funding agency, who's the ones that does all the loans for us. Civic Financial Services, Balance Agri-Nutrients, which we hold some shares in because of the stock banks, and so because we put fertilizer on those, we're required under Balance's rules to actually own some shares in it. Am I missing someone? No, I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. So that's our four. Oh, and Colab. Yeah. Not your feeling someone. Property, plant, and equipment. So this is basically all the physical assets we own. And it's not just buildings, it's all the roads, it's the pipes under the ground, it's the bridges, anything that you think we own that's sitting in there, except for the stuff that's sitting into tangible assets, which is our software, it's our resource consents, that sort of stuff. The loan receivable, so this is the money that the Kiwi House owes us. Now this, obviously we gave them a $2 million loan, and this doesn't look like $2 million. That's because there's a whole lovely financial discounted cash flows thing that we have to do where we expect really to get this much back in the future. I won't bother boring you now because it's very complex and technical. If you want to know, I'm happy to tell you about it outside of the meeting, but at the meeting it's probably not worth.
We'll be giving council a briefing on the Kiwi House early next year, I think, anyway, so can probably wrap it into that.
Councillor Butcher, we got a quick Question?
Through you, Chair. Brendan, is the investments, just wondering, is that the community and board, do boards have their investments in under that?
Are there reserves?
Their reserves, sorry?
That actually sits under equity under reserve funds.
Okay,
So it's part of that 3.2 million of reserve funds in the equity section. Yeah, that's where
Thank
those
you.
sit. Yeah. Okay, in terms of the liabilities, so trade and other payables, that's our creditors, provisions. So the provisions in both here and non-current, that's for the aftercare of the closed landfills. So when we closed landfills many years ago, there was a requirement for 30, 40 years, I can't remember, I wasn't here at the time, to put money aside to look after those and do monitoring. And so this is just that provision still being written off every year. We write off a bit. Employee benefit liability. So this is annual leave, outstanding sick leave. What am I missing? Long service leave, and potentially, not in this case, but a year end, it will also include the cut-off of payroll over a year end period, because obviously you pay up to the 30th of June, but it will pay nicely with a pay period. Income in advance, so this can be rates, money that we've received in advance, water money, debtors that have paid in advance, dogs, those sort of things. And this development financial contributions in advance, as the name says, that's where we've received development contributions, but we haven't used that money yet to do the work that we were going to do. And then in the non-current, borrowings is obviously money that we borrowed externally.
Councillor.
sorry, I forgot to ask, under investments, what is those investments if the community board reserves, since I was on the community board's last triennium, is under revaluation reserves, or sorry, reserve funds?
Yeah.
Yeah. What, for example, what are the investments?
So that was the airport,
Just-
collab, civic, balance, LGFA, yeah.
Right, and under the borrowings,
Yes.
non-current liabilities, and I'm sort of going ahead here a bit, but it relates to that.
Yep.
At the end of this presentation, 4.14, you've said about the loans, is that those loans maturing?
Yes.
Or is, okay,
Yes.
thank you.
With the exception of when we get down to that, that adds up to 12.
Yes,
The 447,000 is the concessory loan that I believe I mentioned in there. So this is the Housing New Zealand loan that we've had for 20 odd years.
okay, thank you.
Okay. So the sum of all those assets and liabilities gives us our net assets of 435 million as of the end of October. And then that's offset by the retained earnings, the reserve funds we've talked about, which is the board's funds plus council's reserve funds, plus some other little reserves that we've got floating around, and our revaluation reserves. So the revaluation reserves is over the years, as you revalue your assets, you build up a reserve. It's all a paper transaction. It's not actual money sitting there. Yes. And then just in the notes there, I've talked a bit about the working capital, which is your current assets less your current liabilities. And that's usually a good estimate as to whether a company or a council in our case is in a good position or a worrying position, and it's healthy for us at the moment. So we're happy there. If there's no further questions on that, now move on to page 162. So this is our cost of service statement, the combined cost of service statement. So I guess to explain what the cost of service statement is, because it's kind of a uniquely local government thing, this is where we show how much it actually costs for all the things that we do. As opposed to an income statement where you have internal charges or overheads, as we call them, they get offset and taken out of your income statement. In here, it's on there, what's and all. So this is the actual cost of running it. So that's where you get this other general sources line in the operating revenue. That is the recoveries that each department make, or that all the departments make from their overheads. And then those costs are then shown in that operating expenditure. I'm I'm happy to go into overheads now, but not too deeply. We will go into it quite a bit when we do the presentation in February, because it can get quite complex to discuss. But if you want a little bit, I can. But I guess to give you an example of what overheads are, probably a good idea. So running this building, for example, there's electricity, there's the internet, there's Wi-Fi, there's all those sorts of things. Running all our tablets and our IT, that's an overhead. The vehicles are overheads because you obviously have petrol and maintenance and insurance, that sort of stuff. And then staff departments have overheads as well. So there's obviously salaries for, say, if we take Tanya as an example of her department, there's salaries, there's staff training, there's again her phone, there's other things. I can't think of it. I mean, subscriptions to Taitoda, for example. And so those all then, because we don't rate fund those directly, we have to allocate that across all the activities to get that money back to cover those costs. So that would be the other way. If you wanted to get rid of overheads as a complex thing, you just rate fund everything. But then that gets more complex as well. Then who pays for it and how do you define it accurately? So yeah. So the cost of service statement includes all those things in, which obviously, like I say, in the earlier one, they're netted out to zero. I guess in terms of the operating revenue, it's fairly, the groupings are similar but not quite the same. So obviously we break down the targeted rates and general rates. So general rates are the ones that everyone across the district pays, whereas the target or across the communities for the two community rates. The targeted rates are the ones that are specific for a specific activity. So, for example, wastewater rates, refuse rates, seawall rates out on the coast, those sort of things. In terms of the operating expenditure, so we break this down into our groups of activities that we have in our long-term plan. So trusted leadership and relationship is a lot of that is staff time, but it is also the council, the two community boards. I think that's the bulk of it off the top of my head. Strong communities, this is the sort of the stuff that a lot of Nadia's team does. This is the youth development, what's my breaking up like economic development, community development, yeah, anything with development in the name probably. Vibrant places and spaces, so this is mostly Jared's sort of stuff. So this is our parks and reserves, our swimming pool, library, that sort of stuff. Sustainable development and public safety is pretty much Tony's area. So this is all your regulatory stuff, building consents, residence consents, dog control, environmental health, that sort of stuff. Hopefully the next 5 are pretty self-explanatory: land transport, water supply, wastewater, stormwater and flood protection. And responsible waste management is refuse and recycling. And so that's the groupings that we use there. The next 2 bits, the funding required and the funding applied. So this is more your capital side of things. This is the stuff that wouldn't end up on your income statement. This is more balance sheet sided. So you've got your capitals, and under the legislation, we're required to break our capital into 3 different groups, which is your renewals. So that's replacing existing assets. Growth related capital, which is spending money because you have to, say, up the size of a pipe because you're getting more people moving into an area, for example. And the level of service improvement. So that's where we decided to replace the pool, for example, and put in a Olympic grade pool. That would be a level of service improvement, as an example. We haven't done that. We're not planning on doing that at this point, but I'm aware. So just picking an example around. So as you can see there, in terms of the capital, we are under budget year to date. A lot of that year to date budget does include the carryovers from last year, though. And so some of those projects are still ongoing, and haven't been capitalised yet. So that's why there's a bit of a difference there. And I explained that a bit further down in 4.8, I believe it is. And then the funding side of things. So, there's loan repaid. So the loans repaid, actually, that's a good point. Loans repaid is our internal borrowings, so it's not external borrowings. So we run a system where we have an internal borrowing book and an external. So the external borrowings we do for cash flow purposes to make sure we have enough cash. Internal loans are done to fund the capital that we do, and it's all based on, we use the depreciation reserves we get from funding depreciation on other assets. And so it's just a book entry to keep track of how much it's cost for each activity to do whatever they've done. So those were the payments of the internal stuff. And same with the loan raised and the funding applied, that's also internal. And so we only do that at year end, so that's why it's zero up until the full year budget. Capital income. Oh, yep.
Yeah, quick question, please.
Yep.
So the seawall, Kawhi and Altea,
Yep.
on the residence rate bills, it will say targeted rate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. That, I believe it's called Kawhi TSC will. Might not say the word targeted, but it does say rate. Yeah. That specifically says it's a rate for the seawall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then, yeah, so the capital income, so that's from sale of any assets that we sell off. Predominantly that's from our vehicles. That's pretty much the only thing we ever make money off selling. Because you can't really sell a pipe, can't sell a road. I mean, you can, but there's a bit to it. Yeah, and then there's the odd little bit of, we get rid of an old screen or something and staff member gives us $20 for it or whatever. We're going to write off anyway. So, and then the transfers to and from balance, so that's again just a balance sheet, a balancing item. So that's to do with the overs and unders in each activity as to whether it's made a profit or a loss at that point. And that's how we'll transfer that between the balance sheet, the retained earnings. A bit more complex again, I could probably explain that in a bit more detail in February. There's no further questions on the cost of service statement. Then we'll move on to the cash flows, which is hopefully a bit, now that I've explained all that, it's hopefully a bit easier to understand. So we don't actually do budgeted cash flows for during the year, a year-to-date budget, because doing a year-to-date balance sheet budget is very, very complex, and we haven't got to that point yet. We can do the operating side of things, but obviously the balance sheet fluctuate quite a bit, and balance sheet has an impact on your cash flow. So we don't bother with that. So we just do actual versus year-to-date budget. So again, hopefully most of those lines are self-explanatory. Receipts from rates of revenue. So this is actual cash received, I guess. It's not the income that we've recorded. So you can see there we've got $8.8 million of cash that we have actually received from rates. So some of that will be this year's rates. Some of that will be people prepaying the next installment or next year's rates. Some of it will be people paying the rates they haven't paid us for the last however many years. So yeah, so it is just the cash that's come in or gone out. Same with the other revenue, interest received, dividends received. So the dividends that we usually get is, again, as Councillor Dowd mentioned earlier, we usually get one from the airport, and we got one, I think, last year from Civic Assurance as well. Civic Financial Services, their new name. It's still Civic Assurance in my head. In terms of the cash flows from investing, so this is your movements in your assets effectively. So you can see there, we spent quite a bit of cash on property, plant, equipment at 1.5 million. Quite a bit on intangible assets, which are the resource consents that we're still in the process of finalising for stormwater and seawalls. And then we've made the 124,000 from the sale of property, plant, equipment. We haven't done any borrowings yet this year, so that's why there's zeros under that financing. And so you can see there we started the year with 1.2 million in cash, and at the end of October we got $1.8 million in cash. No questions on cash flow. Oh yeah.
I just want quick question. Well, what's a year-to-year start date?
Oh yeah. Good question. So we begin our financial year 1st of July and end 30th of June. Yeah.
Councillor Jeffries.
Yes, through you, your question. Brendan, so in the full year budget column for proceeds from borrowing, 3.225 mil.
Yeah.
Is that what you're referring to in 4.14, where you talk about reinstatement works and so on, or was that for another purpose?
No, so that's what was budgeted in the LTP. Sorry, not LTP, the annual plan this year.
Right.
That we would need to borrow that $3 million.
So do you think that's likely to happen?
So I just did a yes. I did a memo for Tanya late last week because of the work that's been required in terms of the October event and the earlier July event. We will have to borrow money. we're hoping that when we get the subsidy back on that, that we can repay a lot of that. So I don't know if it'll necessarily be $3 million that we'll have to borrow. Our share, I believe, will probably end up at about $1 million. So probably would need to borrow that million. Which obviously that's not budget principles and expecting a storm, so we budget for it. But then obviously it also depends on other factors as well. Like working assumption, we're not going to have another event between now and the end of June.
So the repayment of whatever that loan ends up as,
Yeah.
that will be form part then of the roading rate going forward with.
Because, yeah, so again, I guess it's a internal versus external borrowings thing. So the external borrowings are obviously just for cash flow.
Yep.
Internal, and that's what that's reflecting, that's our external borrowing, so we have to borrow $3 million for cash flow, according to that. Internal borrowings, yes, it would form part of the roading rate. Well, actually, it's covered by depreciation reserves, so it wouldn't actually have an impact on the rates itself, it would just reduce those reserves quite a lot. Yeah.
All right, more questions?
All right, and so the last little bit, which we've kind of already talked about a little bit here, is about our debt profile. So that's 412 to 414. So as you can see there in 414, we've got these three loans at the moment, not 6 million, not 2 million, and 4 million, with varying different maturity dates and interest rates. And so yeah, those are coming due. We've got one in next month. And so we'll probably roll that over and see what rates we can get at that point. We'll probably, I guess we've talked about this previously with the previous council around the timing of borrowings. And obviously with the Waikato waters and everything that's happening in that space, we would be expecting to get some money back from them once we transfer our assets for our debt associated with our water assets. So we're going to be very careful when we do any refinancing to make sure that we don't lock ourselves into anything long term, because in theory, when we get that money back, we should be able to repay those external borrowings.
Any more questions? Could I have a mover? Well, Brendan's report. Move, Councillor Butcher, second, Councillor Jeffries. All in favour? Against? I think we should just have a bit of a 5-minute break now, because all those numbers are running around in your head. And we want you to try and make yourself a cup of coffee and get a biscuit, and we'll just chill for a bit, 5 minutes, and then we'll come back to we've got something really to look forward to after that. Around Baskin, through the next report. Item 13, page 165 of our agenda. Mr. Graham Bunn is going to take us through this.
Yeah, thanks, media. This report will be a little bit simpler than the last one. So, as Tanya said before, I just want to thank Kai for actually writing this report for me. So, it's basically just I guess, the summary of the election process. What worked well, what didn't work well. And it's just an opportunity for us to have a look, just as we're so close to the election, to kind of look at what potentially we could do differently. Just from my point of view as Deputy Electoral Officer, there was, I think, certainly some improvements that were made, particularly around the use of the portal that Election NZ, that's who provide our election services, set up. So when and Kai did all this, I was just a bystander, but when we loaded nominations into the portal, it checked everything for us, so it checked that, made sure that you were on the electoral roll, that your nominees were within the ward, whereas before we had to check all that manually. And also the other thing I'd just like to comment on is that they really had a massive improvement to the portal around special voting as well, which made it a lot simpler. So that process worked really well. We on the election day itself, up to lunchtime, we processed a record number of special votes. We had a huge influx. And you'll see that our overall return was just 0.5% under 50%, which is the best return that we've ever had in this district. It was unfortunate that we with the Maori ward referendum, that we just by a narrow margin, I think it was only 120, 130 votes, that they elected not to continue with Maori wards. So we have them for this triennium, but then we won't have them for the next two trienniums. The other thing, just I guess that I'd comment on, just around the campaign period, and councillors may have some comment on this as well, that potentially might change next time, particularly around signage. We've got rules that relate to signage that come out of our district plan, but then there were also sort of general rules that we had included in the candidate handbook. The candidate handbook, we just obviously we just recreated that from the previous from 3 years ago. So I think if I was involved with running the election again, I'd be retired by the next election. But we would probably align when we can put signs up with our neighbours, so yeah, unfortunately that was already in the handbook, and we'd already rolled that out. And then I think we would probably run some better comms in terms of what you can have on the signs, in terms of size of letters, number of words, sort of thing. It was in the candidate handbook, but not it's a big handbook, and not everybody reads that diligently. So and they're probably that easy fixes. Everything else worked pretty well. We ran a couple of candidates briefings, one in Kawhia, one here, which were well attended. We opted this year, Tanya and I, to run them instead of getting our electoral officer up to run them, which kind of made it a bit more local and informal, and I think that worked well. But yeah, happy to take any comments on any other observations or any other improvements that we could make.
I'd just like to comment, it worked for me. But the 49.5% that we got voting, it's actually a high achieving in New Zealand. Like, not many people vote local government, and so sort of pat ourselves on the back that the people did get out there and vote. Some other areas, like we're in the paper, we're well in the top 10, I think. So it's not too bad. And what else was I going to say? Yeah, the signage was a bit of an issue, but it's interesting that, because we could put our signs out later, but other councils you talk to, wish that they had our rules. Because the whole longer period was more, you know, obviously it costs, you got to, in cities and places like that, they've got to maintain them because they get vandalised more. Like I myself only had one sign get vandalised. I mean, it looked more like kids. They were just, you know, no one drew to hair on me or anything like that. So, but yeah, but no, thanks for that. I think, you know, I think really you've got to get with the real world, which is not really something we can decide, but they've got to start doing them on phones. Everyone has a phone and votes, you know.
Yeah. I think it's you know, like the Electoral Act is 23 years since it's been reviewed, you know, so yeah, certainly around yeah, postal voting is a pretty archaic way of running an election now, but you know, so potentially some changes there. I thought we got the results out pretty quick, you know, so it was early afternoon on that Saturday that we were able to contact councillors. So yeah.
Is there going to be a report or something about like who voted, ages, ethnicities, etc.?
Yeah, do you know if we can pull that information, Colin? Yeah.
Yeah, because I suppose without Māori wards, I'm quite interested in that.
Any more questions? Can I have a mover?
Yeah, I'll move.
He's already moved. Sorry, you're gonna be the seconder. So moved, Councillor Barker, and second, Councillor Carr. All those in favour? Against? Carried. So now we're moving on to council updates. So this is just around the rod, just verbal what you've been up to, and Councillor Carr, you can be the first to get off the mic.
I attended, along with a few others, attended the Zone 2 meeting on Tuesday, which was interesting. Quite depressing when you look at what was potential changes. Well, that will probably become reality. They're trying to, my understanding was that rate cap is a pretty popular option, but then on the other hand, they're going to get all this other stuff to do instead. So how can you cap your rates when there's another level of cost? So it's going to be some challenges moving forward.
Councillor Butcher.
Kia ora all. Yeah, I also attended the Zone 2 meeting on Friday. A lot to take in, and yeah, we'll see where that goes and the support that we get from LGNZ. And then a couple of Fridays before that, Jamie Tamaki and I attended the Social Investment Agency conference, I would say. Yeah, Jamie. That was a really interesting day. Social Investment Agency has been formed over a year ago through the government. I'm not sure if it's replacing Ministry of Social Development. I need to just do a bit more homework on that. And there were about 5 speakers across the board from a couple of professors about what works to stop being basically the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff, and getting to people in need way earlier. Would you say that, Jamie? Yeah, so there were a lot of different groups from all walks of life. It was really cool.
Thank you. Councillor Barker.
Nothing really to report. Been busy.
I'm on the job. What have you been busy doing? So we're asking, what are you busy doing?
Personal stuff.
Farming, making money, eh? We'll just hand over to Councillor Barclay, please. You've been up to heaps.
Hello, everyone. I just got back into the country last night after being away in Melbourne for my sister-in-law's wedding. So that was exciting. But other than that, I'm heading off to Wellington on Friday for the day. I'm going to the Young Elected Members Hui. So yeah, excited to connect with some people who are potentially walking the same sort of path of life that I am, and get their perspective on what's happening in their districts.
Thank you. Councillor Jeffries.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, I want too far. Not too sure how far to go back, to be honest.
Just yesterday we find.
No, I've been writing while you're talking. So just very briefly, yeah, we had a meeting on the 9th of October with the Risk and Assurance Committee, where we met with Deloitte, and Bruno Dent, who's our new audit manager, came in for the first time. I've known Bruno off and on for years. He's a good guy. And so it was really just to discuss the auditors' findings in terms of our annual report. They had very little in the way of material issues that were raised, which was great. And the management letter coming from Deloitte will disclose any recommendations they have for consideration for the next annual report, which I don't think are going to be very onerous. So that was a good result. That meeting was followed by a council meeting the same day in which the council adopted its annual report for the year. Yep. On the 23rd of October, you'll be pleased I've moved on a fortnight.
Yes.
Jeff Good and I met with Waipa Networks with Anna Watson and their new infrastructure manager, Matt. And it was a really useful meeting. We've had meetings with them before. And we talked about the resilience of supply out on the western side of the district, and particularly out towards Ōtorohanga, Kawhia, Aotea, that area there. And interesting that they were saying that their power supply is now quite capable of handling an EV station now at Kawhia. And that particular subject came up in a tourism meeting that we'd had at Kawhia, where we were looking at ways in which we can encourage people to come to Kawhia, and an EV station was identified as being almost getting to the stage where it's almost a necessity because of the number of vehicles now that rely on electricity, if you like. So that was good, and something that'll come up in later discussions. Just for your information, the Chief Executive, Sean Horgan, is leaving Waipa Networks. He's going down to, I think it's Main South in the South Island, at the end of this year. And Sean's been absolutely great to us as a district, and been very proactive in terms of providing Kawhia with generators and so on before things hit the fan out there, just to make sure that the CBD continues to operate as it should. So it might be a nice gesture to perhaps as a suggestion to send Sean a letter thanking him for his services to the district and wishing him well for the future, perhaps. If you need a resolution to that effect, I'm quite happy to move that. And then we had a discussion with Matt, the new infrastructure manager, and he provided us with some information on the network of Waipa Networks in the western area here, and all of the what do you call the boxes where the power comes in?
Yeah, transformers.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so and so it was asked if they could provide that map so that we could actually see where they were in relation to the roads, local roads, and so on. So he's done that, so much appreciated. So that's there for anyone who wants to have a look at it. And I think there was, sorry, there was just one other one I was just going to have a quick look at. On the 28th, we had the first of the induction meetings, and yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Councillor Jeffries. Councillor Kitty.
Gosh, I don't want to sit next to a kid who's blown me off with all his working visits. Anyway.
You want to sit by Councillor Barker?
Yes, so lots our workshops, which has been absolutely great. Appreciated that. Went to local government New Zealand in Hamilton. I really liked that. I learned a lot. So that was great. I went to Fade Up as well for the Rangatahi Youth Initiative at the college. I really enjoyed that. Also, lots of collaboration. Went to the 50-year service for Darcy Lupton. Yeah.
Sorry, Darcy.
I'm very appreciative going to Wellington on Thursday for the Maruata National Hui, I guess. Also, I'm going to the opening of the medical school, so I'm looking very forward to that. Yes, this worship said I can go. And what else? I'm on the civil defence in Tinihini Nui, so I'm looking forward to that very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Timmy. It broke down.
Now I'm staying on green, I'm going like ice. So what did I do? What have I done? Workshops, Waikato social investment at Hamilton. Who with TNN around the JMA and how we set up and when those meetings will be. And some of those conversations are around commissioner training, governance training, and how we can better equip our wider community in those contexts around the JMA frameworks and schedules. Went to Fade Up. Went to a careers expo in Kawhia around the Hawara Hub. Really successful. Had 26 providers there. Was crazy from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. The providers did not sit down. You were literally side by side walking through the hall, Kawhia, so that was really cool, and some really good feedback around rural health and how we can road map some of that into our community. So that was really cool. Zone 2, and then I had a hui with some of the ladies at the support house around after the social investment around how we get some of that, engage in some of those ones that are right at the bottom of our localities lists and stuff. And so that was really cool too. That's me for now.
Councillor Woodward. Yes.
Yes, spent a lot of time in China studying up on their government policies over there. I attended the China Importers Expo, which was awesome to see, massive event, but a lot around trust building and ticking off milestones and how they prove themselves to their customers over there in terms of reliability and trustworthiness. But locally, just catching up on things back home that we've been delaying, but then got down to see the Ōtorohanga Dance Studio presentation down in Te Kuiti, which was awesome to see, but it was a shame that it wasn't out in Oda. So but great to see a lot of the younger students and a few of the mothers getting up on stage and having a bit of a dance. Yes, great night out. Yeah.
Deputy Mayor Christensen, please.
29th October, Elevate had their AGM and we got 2 new really good board members, Sue Gardensway and Nikki Raffles. So that was pretty cool. 30th of October, I went up to Hamilton with a few of us and we went to the LGNZ induction. November 4, we had the swearing in and meeting, first meeting of the community board. And then on the 6th, we went out to Kawhia for their swearing in and meeting. Had a catch up with Graham and Rodney. Workshops, and 12th and 13th, we went down to Wellington for the rural and provincial sector meeting, which Tanya shared notes, but and slides I think is available. I've got lots of notes too, but I haven't written them up. 15th and 16th, the other weekend I organised a garden ramble to raise money for BT, half for BT Home and half for a youth initiative, which has to be worked out what it is. And once we sell all the raffle tickets, which I have for sale, $5 each, if anyone wants to buy one, we'll hit the 5K mark. So that's, half each. 19th, went to Fade Up at the college, which was fantastic, and then popped along to the farmers' night. Last Friday, went to Zone 2 with a few of us at Kirapero, which was really, interesting with, what's going to get chucked at us. And then, yeah, I sort of touched on it before. Carolyn and Nadia have had a meeting with Paul Bowden to start up the housing initiative again now that we've lost Michelle Erickson. Oh, it's Michelle, it's Michelle Hollins. Yeah, no, you're missing. Thanks, me. Yeah, and then I just thought, so we've had a bit of change at Elevate with staff members. So our newest staff member, Sass, has been there, I think, coming up 2 months now. So they're starting to settle in. In October, they had 233 visitors through the door, which was pretty cool, but they were selling tickets too. So it was 126% increase from September. Yeah, that's pretty much, there's the business breakfast this Friday. I don't know if you're all going, but you should get hold of Elevate and they'll book you in. It's, I think, $15 or $20 off the top of my head. I can't remember. Might be 15 for members and 20 for non-members. They're also leading the business, the Christmas parade. I think they've got about 9 or 10 floats so far. They're working on adding to the new resident pack for obviously new residents, and maybe in the new year doing a digital copy too for real estate agents so they can send it out. They are running a Lucky Shopper Christmas promotion, 12 days of Christmas. So for 12 days, there'll be $100 voucher or 200, and then I think there might be 2 $1,000 ones at the end, and they're all for the vouchers that will be spent locally in town. Did you have a question, Councillor Butcher?
No, but I just wanted to add a couple of things that I forgot about.
That is my time. Oh, good, that's it. 7:30. And we have and we have a great speaker. Meadell.
We will allow this time, Councillor Butcher, since you weren't organised last time.
Thank you.
It's in the standing orders.
I just wanted to do a little bit of a shout out. Elevate did a business awards night, and that was really great, especially trying to encourage our business community. No matter what type of business you have, to put yourself forward. And there were some really cool speakers there. The podcast boys, after hours. What was its name? Between Two Beers. Yeah, and the CEO of Waikato, the Chiefs. And then also just a little shout out to the Christmas Club. I helped them yesterday afternoon put up all the Christmas decorations and the in our village green. So it's really cool, really neat.
Thank you. Do we don't need to move in a second of that, do we? Right.
Yeah.
No. Jolly good. We'd like to move on to the resolution register. Town of Titania.
Yep. Through you, Mayor Dow. So just for new members, we capture the resolutions that council makes, or the boards or any committee, and put them into a resolution register. So these are only the decisions that you've actually made. For these ones here, the resolutions were made at the 4th of November council meeting, and we're recommending that all of them be removed from the register because they've been actioned. So
yeah. So moves Councillor Woodward, seconded Deputy Mayor Christensen. There's no public discussion, on it. So do you want me to read it out? Or?
you can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So the resolution is that Ōtorohanga District Council confirm the removal of resolutions C1, C2 and C3 from the register. We've had a movement a second. All in favour? Against? Carried. You didn't quite get the order right, didn't you?
So we're going to move into public excluded, but we have some people in the room. So I think they're from QV. Are you? Kia ora. Sorry, we'll just work out some meeting logistics here. If you don't mind, Graham, if you could, sorry, we'll be with you shortly. We'll just do our public excluded item. Reasons under Laboima for why we are moving into public excluded. So we can't just move into public excluded because, I don't know, elected members feel awkward about discussing this in public, or you're worried you'll get a media headline or something like that. There's actual reasons under the Act that we need to use. And in this case, we've used Laboima and the Privacy Act because we are talking about an individual and we're talking about his to you. Okay, had a move second that. No.
Yeah, I'll move.
Councillor Jeffries will move it and Councillor Tamaki seconded. All those in favour?
Has everyone got your confidential agenda in front of you?
No, yeah.
So
What is it under? again?
Notes. Files.
Notes. Yeah, but which team? Which team?
So council,